call is as traditionally is the following. Following the official opening, we will move to the presentations by our experts with the panel discussion, and the concluding part will be dedicated to open discussion. Please feel free to write your questions in the chat window, and we will try to answer them at the panel discussion or at the open discussion session. So I guess we can move to the opening now. I'm very happy to have to give floor to Mr. Solomon Davliashvili, Deputy Minister of the Environment Protection and Agriculture of Georgia, for the opening remarks. Over to you. Pardon, Solomon.
May I start?
Atmaunda.
Sure. I would like to greet you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks to organizers of this project. I would like to extend my deep gratitude to UNDP Georgia for organizing this meeting, also to Czech Development Agency for working for years in Georgia and supporting several projects. This platform itself is really interesting. I very rarely met such a platform, and I'm so happy that you invited me and gave opportunity to participate in this, because when scientists have opportunity to represent their opinions, and then policy is drafted based on these recommendations, all of these recommendations are implemented in private sector. This is extremely important. Any policy, we are policy makers, policy developers, and of course, while implementing any policy, it's absolutely important to envisage researchers' opinions, even if legislative document is drafted. So it will be really nice if we are engaged in this format quite frequently. I became a member of your academy, and I would like to say that it's absolutely crucial to bring to the ministry whatever is done in the science. You know, some components by all means shall be taken into consideration, because we do not have resource in the ministry to carry out separate researches. So this roundtable, this dialogue you carry out is absolutely crucial for environmental issues as well as for agriculture. Therefore, we'll be here with great interest now and in future. I really love this panel. When I saw background of these scientists, when I saw how experienced people were engaged. So this is a really nice format, and I confirm once more my respect. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Solomon. And I believe that will answer questions which people have, the participants have. I want to give floor to our Czech partners, our supporters, Jan Černík from Czech Council, please.
To you.
Thank you, Khatuna, dear ladies, gentlemen. So I'm here to say a few words at the beginning of this event about a wider frame of Czech development cooperation in Georgia. The multilateral cooperation means here cooperation through Czech Trust Fund for SDGs at UNDP. This is a quite new instrument for us, including two particular instruments, Expertise on Demand and Challenge Fund. And we are here in the event supported by Challenge Fund, which is about reflection of development challenges in our partner countries. Currently, there are 6, and we would like to offer some of our experience because um, Georgia is a quite developed country, honestly, and it means for us, for our system, to pilot some approaches to getting lessons learned, which can be useful for our other partner countries. So it means we are learning as well here. And the Challenge Fund is, I think, quite good instrument for that. So, but a part of multilateral cooperation, agriculture, and this is a cross-sectoral topic, I think, waste management and agriculture. So agriculture is our long-term priority, and I am personally happy to be here with Mr. Solomon and with FAO because either Ministry of Environment Protection and Agriculture or FAO are our key partners here in Georgia. So this is, I think, kind of indicator for this event. About the topic. So each country has its own culture of consumption and therefore making some waste. And this event is about stimulation of public discussion about the topic. I would like to point out that this kind of behavior change connected with consumption and making waste are somehow deeply rooted feature, and each country can contribute with a particular experience. So to sum up, yes, we have some fresh transition experience in the Czech Republic, ongoing reforms in Georgia under gesture of the ministry was completed in the Czech Republic a few years ago. We are very close in the reform process. So I would like to good luck and looking forward discussion which may contribute to other efforts of the Czech Development Cooperation. Thank you again and good luck with the event.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chernik. We do appreciate the support and the opportunity to have the platform to share Czech experience and link the Czech expertise and research to the Georgian reality. In this regard, I would like to give floor to Mr. Georgi Nanobashvili, who is leading UNDP Georgia Economic Portfolio, to give the overview of how UNDP is engaged, from which angle UNDP's activity is engaged in this field. Georgi, over to you.
Thanks a lot to all of you. I'd like to speak Georgian since majority of participants are Georgians. I want to extend my deep gratitude to all partners, to Ministry, FAO, Czech Embassy, Czech Development Corporation. I want to extend my deep gratitude, not just for this event, but in general for being so supportive to these initiatives. I would like to highlight that this issue is really broadly supported by FAO. It has engaged many foreign experts, as international experts, as well as local organizations, and we witnessed political dialogues how regarding implementation of this issue in Georgia, engaging all participants and all stakeholders more efficiently. It was also mentioned that this topic is not just subject to state regulation of citizens, private sector, so everyone should be engaged, and this should be done based on general goodwill. Of course, in this case, especially private sector has expenses are some expenses, especially for private sector. And Solomon mentioned that the role, and he was absolutely right, that the role of science is to make this burden these activities more effective and more optimal. So we should ensure that this leads us to higher results. In general, waste management topic is perceived like a huge industrial issue, but we'll see in the presentations that this is really broad scale issue. For example, food waste is very important. So in terms of effective use, so there are different tools, but it has also social dimension in different aspects. It's very important that we choose and we selected to share experience of Eastern Europe, and this will support our participants to take with them really useful experience for their future activities. We are with us. We have representative of Packaging and Packaging Materials Association, NUTSA. They are working on development of packaging and packaging materials cluster, and we can see this situation from this perspective as well. And we might think of interventions of responsible business with the responsibility to environment and resource, and this will implement better responsibility and higher responsibilities in our everyday life, responsible towards economic development, towards environment, and so on. That's all from my side. I wish you good luck, successful meeting, and thanks to everyone who highlighted and lifted this topic.
This is indeed a wonderful opportunity to work with our with our colleagues. I would like to give floor to our colleagues from Food and Agriculture Organization, which is indeed leading on the agenda, to present food recovery and redistribution in Georgia, the overview of the field. It will be presented by Mr. Matthew Revere, agribusiness and value chain expert. He comes with the background of corporate finance, as well as the experience of entrepreneurship and creation of the value chain, and is contributing with his personal experience and expertise to the farmers' development currently within the framework of FAO. Matthew, over to you. Thank you very much for your time, for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Ratana. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, for giving us the floor and the chance to present a little bit what the situation is in Georgia, the work that has been done so far. So I'll be giving a quick presentation on behalf of FAO, but I'm here together with my colleague Juba Marwashvili and Anna Margebadze, who is sitting next to me. So we have all been involved on this topic for now a little bit over 3 years. And so I think it's very good to see that this topic is trending in Georgia, that is becoming a hot topic. I think a lot could be done. Just a second, sorry. A lot could be done on this field, and I'm really happy to present this to you. So Fatuna, I'm going to share my screen, if possible.
Yes, please. You should be able to.
Let's hope. Can you see my screen?
Give it a second, please. Yes.
Yes,
wonderful.
Okay, so let me present a little bit about what we call food recovery and redistribution in Georgia. So I'm going to try to keep it short. Please feel free to interrupt me and ask any question if you want to. It's a roundtable discussion, so let's keep it this way. So I'll be presenting a little bit the situation in Georgia, the work done by FAO over the last 3 years, key figures, impacting figures. I think something that everyone should have in head, because it's really impressive. And then I will discuss a little bit about the main barriers and the work to be done in the coming years. So just to set up a little bit the discussion here, it should be known by everyone that 1/3 of the food produced in the world is lost or wasted. That means a lot can be done. There's a lot of savings to be done, and there are existing mechanisms for that. Of course, if we manage to put this recovery and redistribution system in place, the impact is significant in terms of economy, social and environmental aspects. It's the target 12.3 of SDG 12. It calls for halving the per capita global food waste by 2030. It's a priority for the United Nations and for FAO, just like for all our colleagues. So this is a little bit the main causes, because I think there's very often a little misunderstanding about what is implied by the wording food loss and waste. So we have losses at post-harvest management. You have waste at retailers level, for example. So I'm not going to go too much into details. You do have a list of examples here. Everyone should understand that redistributing food means redistributing safe and edible food. It's not discarded food. It's not lower quality food. It's food that is that has 100% of its characteristics. That means before the best before date. So the justification is, of course, pretty simple. So the idea is to, so you have a definition here if you want to read it. But basically you have 4 main actors. You have the donor, the supplier, which can be producers, processors, hotels, restaurants, retailers. So all these are donors. Then you do have what's called redistribution organization. Most of the time, food banks. You can have soup kitchens, like we have them in Tbilisi, for example. You can have NGOs, of course. Then you have the consumer, who is the recipient of the food donated. In some cases, you can have facilitators. So this is most of the time NGOs or charities. This is something we would like to put in place in Georgia, for example. A key point here is that our studies, not only in Georgia, but worldwide, show that if some barriers are removed, so if the ecosystem is created, food business operators are generally ready to participate in the system of food recovery and redistribution. So I think we're going to have a little poll launched now, if you want to give your opinion on this. It's very important to know that in Georgia, we have been approached by the private sector, first and foremost. They came to us saying, look, we are wasting a lot of food, which is perfectly safe and edible. We would like to donate it rather than throwing it away. So there's a strong interest from FBOs, from the private sector. So quickly, I wanted to present this, and I think it's going to be a great transition to the next presentation. We have something called food hierarchy. So if you want to work on food loss and waste, the first action is to reduce the source of waste. This is the first thing you should try to do. If it's not possible, then comes the idea of feeding insecure people. So this food recovery and redistribution people. Then the next step would be to feed animals. So that's for food which is not perfectly edible or has some potential hazards. You can do composting as well. Then you can use it industrially to create some energy, for example. And eventually the last action is incineration. So it's important when you set up a strategy to follow these steps. The priority should be to reduce the amount of waste. So now I'm going to give you, if it works, sorry, I'm a bit stuck. So the list of activities that were conducted by FAO over the last 3 years. So we have made an assessment, of course, first of all, with a lot of different stakeholders, retailers, producers, hotels, restaurants, McDonald's, charities, consumers, and so on. We try to understand a little bit what the situation is, to assess the level of what is existing. What do charities do? For example, you have some charities which are doing an amazing work in Georgia. We met, of course, with governmental officials from MEPA, but not only, from several ministries, from members of the parliament. We did a little study in Tetris-Ralo municipality as well to get a little bit of an understanding of what local government in municipalities are able to do. We discussed with a lot of institutional partners, first and foremost, of course, the EU delegation, but a lot of embassies are interested to jump in. I think we have a great example today, some IFIs and so on. It's really a hot topic at the moment, which is great. So we did an analysis of the regulatory and policy framework in place in Georgia. We provided some recommendations, examples of what is done in European countries. And based on all that, we created a task force. So we had several meetings with this task force. And during the last meeting, we brought to Georgia the president of the European Food Bank Association. He very kindly agreed to come for like 24 hours. And he presented to the task force a little bit how a food bank works, what can be done, and how complicated it would be to set it up in Georgia. Long story short, it's not that difficult. So now, here are some key figures based on the assessments we did. So this is from 2018, so maybe it's slightly outdated, but I think the idea remains similar. Around 8.9% of the population in Georgia is severely affected by food insecurity. This is, of course, a major problem. In Tbilisi, you have a free kitchen program, which serves up to 38,000 or served 38,000 beneficiaries in 2018. The cost was 18.5 million gel. In addition to that, you have 15 charities providing food to the most vulnerable people. In parallel to that, we discussed with a lot of different retailers, and especially with Carrefour, because Carrefour is very much eager to actually work in the direction of food loss and waste. And they agreed to give us their data so that we can estimate what could be recovered. So to give you an idea, Carrefour alone throws away around 3 million euros worth of edible food per year. So this figure is huge, of course, 3 million euros per year just for Carrefour. But now, and I'll come to that in the next slide, but we don't want to recover everything. You need to consider the risk in terms of food safety. You don't want to recover meat, for example, because you have a cold chain, and this is very complicated. So the first step would be to go for safe products, which is category 1 or 2. I will explain it later. If we only consider these very safe products, we're talking about 1 million euros worth of products per year. If you extend that to the whole retailing sector, you can estimate that between 3 and 4 million euros per year could be recovered and distributed. So what does it mean? It means on one hand, we have the government spending a lot of money to buy food, and charities as well, for the most vulnerable people. And on the other hand, we have 3 to 4 million euros that we could recover. So this is the categories I was mentioning. We have category 1, 2, 3, 4. The idea would be to start with category 1 and 2, which are products where you have no or very little risk in terms of food safety. The categorization exists. It's an FAO model, so it's available. That would, of course, need to be discussed with the National Food Agency, and we did already. But that would be a little bit the idea. Start with the safest products, I would say. So what are the barriers as of today? There are 3 main issues in order to set up this food recovery system. First of all, you have tax issues. So without going too much into details, donated food is subject to VAT in Georgia, and in some cases, not all, but under some circumstances, to income tax as well. It enters into the calculation of the income tax. There is an exemption, but I'm not going to go too much into details. To put it simple, if you are a retailer today, if you throw away the food, you don't pay anything. If you donate it, you pay VAT and maybe in some cases income tax. So since retailers are profit-oriented organizations, of course they throw away the food, which is very sad and something we would like to work on. The second issue is the liability issue, and this is not something to be overlooked. Retailers, if we focus on retailers, they are very much scared that something happens. They don't want to donate food if someone gets sick afterwards, because this, of course, can have an impact on their image. So Georgia, the government of Georgia, needs to define safe food recovery mechanisms. Okay, what can be donated, how, when. What is the deadline before the best before date and so on. So you need to set up a framework, a legal framework, because of course the donors want to be protected from any potential liability. And so that brings us to the third one, which is the possibility to create a food bank. It's not a must, but it's recommended, because of course if you have a food bank working with NFA, and making sure that donated food is safely donated and safely redistributed, you solve somehow the liability issue. So this is something for which the European Food Bank Association could help, Federation, sorry, could help. They offered to help Georgia. This is something that can be done. But once again, there is a need for a legal framework and decisions need to be taken. You have several ways to create a food bank. You have several models and decisions need to be taken. You can even have a virtual food bank. It exists in some countries. That could be an option. So here we have some examples about how taxation is done in EU countries. So if you want to go through it, but long story short, VAT is exempted. Of course, because if you pay VAT on donated products, you don't donate products. It's as simple as that. The idea is that there should be no cost or little cost when you donate. If it's too expensive, of course, donors do not want to donate food. For the liability now, so there's a need to clarify the definition of food surplus, food donation, food recovery, how to redistribute, as I said. So all this should be done by the National Food Agency, of course. The selection method of food intended for recovery and redistribution shall be prescribed by the NFA. So that's all on my side. I don't know if you have any question. I just wanted to mention that I saw that we have some colleagues from SEN in the room. So there's another meeting coming in the coming days, and we're very happy, FAO, of course, to provide our support to anyone interested on this topic. It's really something that we would like to see materialize in the coming weeks, days, years, as soon as possible. If you have any questions, please feel free. Over to you. Thank you.
Matthew, thank you very much, both for the content as well as keeping to the time. We do have a question for you, and it refers to whether you have any assessment of the food losses at the producers level because of the short storage problems, for example.
So I just read the question, Fatuna.
Yeah.
It's a very good question. We do not have it because there is no food loss measurement index in Georgia. It's something we're working on. I do have a one-day training next week on this specific topic. It's not something which is being done at the moment. It's something that FAO is looking at. It's something that has to be measured. I intentionally only mention retailers, but of course it's a very good question. It's not only about retailers, it's about post-harvest management, it's about storage, it's about transportation, logistics, and so on. It's a very wide topic. I try to keep it simple. For now, we don't have it, but we hope to have this implemented as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Matthew. We will be launching the poll, and while we are launching the poll, let me mention that we will be looking at the producer level innovation during the panel discussion. What are the opportunities for technological innovations that are existing in Georgia? So more to come on that. But before that, I'm very, very happy to present our key speaker from the Czech side, Hinek Rubik. We are very happy to have you on board, Hinek, who is the leader, a group leader of the biogas research team at Czech University of Life Sciences in Prague, and deals with organic waste management, including processing of food waste. He's also the youngest member of the Czech Academy of Agricultural Sciences and Biochemistry platform in Czech Republic, and comes with the extensive practical experience of working in multiple countries. He will be presenting both Czech and Bosnia and Herzegovina experience, which is supported by UNDP Partnership for SDGs, and which is also responding to the main purpose of our research for policy conversations, showcasing Czech expertise, available Czech expertise, both in Georgia and in the region in general. Hinek, over to you.
Thank you, Katuna. Thank you for a very nice introduction of me. That sounded very, very pleasant. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen so we can directly move to the topic. Can you see the presentation now, please?
Hinek, we see agenda of the
We
event.
see the agenda.
The agenda is there.
Yeah.
Let me
Which looks beautiful, by the way.
Okay, now?
It's still pretty agenda.
I suggest Hinek to stop sharing and start again.
Start again.
Yes, I think
Now?
we're successful.
Okay, great. Sorry for the confusion. Okay, so welcome. My name is Hinek Rubik. As was mentioned, I'm from Czech University of Life Sciences Prague. Actually, in particular, I'm from Faculty of Tropical Agri-Sciences, which is sort of a specific institution, but it somehow allows us to work a lot abroad. So that's what we do. Also, that's what I and my research group does a lot. We work especially in different areas of Europe, a lot in Southeast Asia and Africa. So those are areas where we deal with different aspects and issues of organic waste management. And because everyone knows FAO, and so Matthew didn't need to introduce his organization, but not so many people know our university. So I placed here just a couple of slides so you know who am I and where I'm coming from. Just one interesting fact which I now like to share is that our faculty is extremely international. We have around 50% of foreigners there, both from staff, both students, and also our new dean, which is coming into office in 2 weeks, is a foreigner. So it's the first foreigner in such a position in Czech Republic. So we are quite excited how this will work. So maybe next year I will tell you if this project was working well or not. But me specifically, I'm group leader of biogas research team, where we are trying to somehow focus on different aspects of organic waste management all around the world, starting from various feasibility studies on the smaller districts level, on countries level, providing expertise or consultations to the new policies of the country, system studies, technology development, and application. So we are trying to cover the whole, what I like to say, research life cycle somehow. But let me allow to start talking about food waste in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because that's the reason why we are actually here. There was, of course, most of the participants here are from Georgia. So I was trying also to look for more linkages between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Georgia, because I like both countries. I had an opportunity to visit them both. In the end, of course, it's somehow the similarities between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Georgia. We can say at least there are similarities in number of population. Somehow the so do we have some question? I can hear some echo.
Background noise. Could I ask? Yeah, I think we're done. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let me jump to more or less the introduction about what we somehow find out in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And somehow in terms of food waste, you will probably find that a lot of those results and findings are quite relatable to the case of Georgia as well. As Matthew mentioned, food waste is one of significant problems and big waste streams, both in Georgia as well as Bosnia and Herzegovina. And it has quite a big role in increasing greenhouse gas emissions. Also, it is quite problematic when we consider the whole food chain. Starting from agriculture producers to the food processing companies, to the supermarkets, restaurants, hotels, but also a lot households, which are, all of them are big producers of food waste. You need to realize that a lot of food waste in the end up in landfills. That's a similar case of Bosnia and Herzegovina as well as Georgia. I didn't have opportunity to look that much into detail how is it with landfills in Georgia, but as I was there a couple of years ago, I still remember it wasn't, or it might be quite similar with Bosnia and Herzegovina, where a lot of the landfills are quite problematic. There is a huge number of illegal landfills. That's also quite a big problem. Of course, illegal landfills, that's a case which is almost in any country. We still have also some here in Czech Republic, but the regulations in place are somehow working a bit better. Also, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, food and other types of organic waste, they are being picked by regular waste collection trucks. That works similarly as in other countries, but the problem, which will be then also quite similar for Georgia, is that there's lack of recycle facilities, and they're almost not at all available in the country. So that also put quite a pressure in the end on dams and landfills. What is somehow always important is institutional framework and policy aspects, because technologically things can be solved, let's say, relatively easily, but always the problem is how to put it into practice and incorporate it into the institutional framework. So in case of Bosnia and Herzegovina, one of sort of challenges also is that their state sector is quite big, let's say, and also quite sometimes confusing. I will be talking about it in the next slide a bit more. But from basic point of view, there are some authorities which should be in case of it. There are some initial plans, initial frameworks. Also, Constitution has the appropriate competencies including implementation of the treaties concerning food, concerning waste in general. So all of those things somehow are in place. Yeah, but if we then look at it more in detail and more deeply, for example, on level of some districts, then it becomes a bit more challenging, because more institutions are somehow now responsible. There is interlinkages between also, but the interlinkage not always works. And the more institution, even though sometimes we like to have full complexity in having more institutions involved, more ministries, more agencies, but then if it is not very clear who is actually in the end responsible, then it rarely works. And that's what somehow is coming out from our findings in Bosnia as well. Because yeah, for you to relate it or give it into picture, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, there is 10 cantons. All of them then have its own governments, and they all of them are adopting their own laws and their own policies in waste management, which somehow should be in accordance with the legal and strategic framework of Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. But then as it goes also more into detail, there is again the municipal levels, which then are putting it in place in their own somehow style and approach. So then it's becoming even more confusing, let's say. So there's one of the institutional setups in waste management for just for one of the districts, so you can see how it looks like. But now let's tell you a bit more about the findings, because that's something even more interesting. There is quite significant impacts of food waste, starting even from social implications, or social impacts, let's say. Because food waste remaining, they are one of the biggest streams there in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And on the other hand, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Matthew was similarly mentioning for Georgia, there is still problems with malnutrition in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Also, quite a big malnutrition burden among children under 5 years old, under 5 population. Also, there is quite food insecurity also among adults. So even those social effects or impacts are in place. But then more clear ones are usually the environmental impacts, and these are also quite big, because as I was mentioning to you, most of the landfills in Bosnia and Herzegovina, they do not meet even some of the basic requirements for protection of environment, and they're also occupying quite a big natural surfaces, which is also a significant problem. And so this is one of the very clear and easily visible problems. Also, obviously, food waste is directly contributing to. Do we have a question? No. Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's one of the problems, and even in Mostar there was quite a big case about one of the illegal landfill. There was also quite a big demonstrations. Didn't really help much, but even the locals realized quite a lot what sort of problem it is. Matthew mentioned sources of food waste, so I'll not go that much in detail there. but they of course include sorry about it, it was a phone. So I will not go that much into detail, but generally, and this is quite similar, what needs to be taken into account, where the food waste is coming from, what sort of food waste is being generated. There are households, quite an important source, which can be reduced by awareness campaigns. That's one of there's quite a good linkage there. And then industry and hospitality sector. Yeah, those are quite big ones. But then also we have baking industry, milling industry, breweries. All of them have quite a big role. I cannot have presentation without actually having there the hierarchy map. But thanks to Matthew, I don't have to really talk about it more in detail. So I can move now to the policy recommendations, which somehow were coming up from the work we were doing there. There is. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention the raising awareness and communication policies and possibilities there, because that's one of the important aspects which needs to be supported in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but in every country which is trying to somehow change their attitude towards food waste. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, mainly the awareness campaigns were done by different NGOs. The state was not so far much involved, but hopefully this will also change. And now there is also more interest from a couple of municipalities, cities, etc., which is good, quite a good sign. Yeah. A bit about some of other facts which can be then relatable if you look at statistics from Georgia, and you will be able to compare it, or maybe some of the outputs from FAO or some UNDP studies. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the average waste generation actually was less than 1 kilogram capita per day, which somehow makes around 1.3 million tons per year, yeah, annually. So and in the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina, majority ends in landfill. Somehow, the last news we had, it's about 1/3 is going to the sanitary landfills, and 2/3 are ending in uncontrolled municipal or other landfills. So you can see how big issue it is. So to simplify the policy recommendation, yeah, there are some national regulations in place, but there is necessary to incorporate the quantifications and review the current policies. We are trying to prepare a new methodology for the country level, which I hope can be implemented into practice there. But big role must go from food waste awareness raising and prevention campaigns. That's an essential step in any country. So that's one of the necessary requirements. And of course, use of all food in line with the food management hierarchy, either through use as a animal feed, composting, or anaerobic digestion for processing for biogas and then energy. Let me just jump very quickly to the case of Czech Republic. What can be interesting from that side? Because I would say, yeah.
If we could have 3 minutes on the Czech, and then go to we could also discuss during the panel discussion as well, as there are questions also coming.
Yeah. Sorry, I started to talk too much. It always happens to me.
It's all right. We are here to talk.
Yeah. So do we have some questions?
It refers to technologies that we can answer in the panel during the panel discussion.
Okay. So.
Yeah, about the Czech, what would be Czech experience that would speak to Georgian context as well.
So yeah, from that perspective, you mean that we have 3 more minutes to close it up? Yeah. So what's for sure relatable? One of the things, because for example, Czech Republic was on the similar stage, let's say 5-10 years ago, because the waste management plan was somehow elaborated for the actual one in place now, which was in 2015, which is for next 10 years. So we are not that much further from Georgia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. But what for sure is relatable, and that's one of the relatively simple things to do, Matthew somehow mentioned it, is the taxation. For example, in the case of goods donated to the food bank, because, for example, in Czech Republic, we had quite a long time problem that it still was taxated. And this simple change changed a lot in the aspect of the whole Czech Republic. So this is one of the relatively small but significant changes which can then open a spot for the food banks to start working in a better way. Also, the food collection from markets, individual donors, Uber giving. That's some of the examples which we have quite nicely in place. You all then can go through the presentation more in detail. Collection, recycling, composting, and biogas. So that's also one of the quite important aspects there. Yeah, maybe I somehow, it seems I ran out of time. I'm sorry about that. So I'll close it up with one last slide.
Yes, please.
So with one last slide, which goes from the topic of barriers and challenges in the food waste, which I will let you then read, and we can discuss more in the panel. But it's a need for support of young researchers, which I believe, and I don't want to lose opportunity to mention this, because that's important in every country, and that's will be for both Bosnia and Herzegovina as well as Georgia. All those countries, even a couple of years back, we are trying to have one project to support young researchers also in Georgia. And for example, I'm now running a couple of years already agri-sciences platform for scientific enhancement in higher education institutions in Ukraine. And through this platform, every year we are supporting young researchers, young research groups. We help them also to transfer the knowledge from Czech Republic, but also our other partners to the Ukraine. And also we help them to create multidisciplinary research teams among their universities. Somehow this in particular is a topic of many countries, that they don't even like to cooperate with universities in their own country. So this is also some barrier we are trying to break down. It's something maybe to think about. So later on, feel free to visit the website there, and you will have an idea how it looks like. I'm sorry, I talked too much. Yes.
Thank you very much for your time, Hinek.
Academic illness somehow.
Thorough review. I think it's speaking about supporting young researchers is the best segue to move to our panel discussion, which is represented by yourself, by Jumber Marouashvili from Food and Agriculture Organization, National Policy Advisor, as well as Nuta Kobidze, who is representing PIMA cluster, packaging cluster, and Professor Vladimir Elisashvili of Georgian Agriculture University, who is heading the Institute of Microbial Biotechnology of the Agriculture University of Georgia. And I would like to give floor to Professor Elisashvili to speak about the latest biotechnologies developed within the framework of his work that can be practically applied by the private sector at the production stage of the value chain. So how can producers benefit from the latest approaches developed during your research work, Mr. Elisashvili? Thank you.
Sorry, I don't hear well. Gentleman has one question before we moving to the panel discussion. Can I ask one question, or can I ask a question to the presenter, or shall we ask later the questions? Don't you hear me?
Yes,
Gentleman is asking a question. Do you hear me?
Yes, please. The question, we can answer the question, of course.
Presentation was really interesting. It was comprehensive. It was presented very well, and preventions also, which should be implemented for reduction of waste. These were very important phases, because Georgia is relatively weak in this respect, but I did not see more focuses on the development of circular model of economy based on food waste, because based on today's conditions, with the help of Czech government and EU, we plan to work on circular economy strategy, and we see really big resource in regard to food waste, because only agrarian waste, food waste are resources for circular economy. As for food waste, I think separation issue should be highlighted. If food waste is not separated, then because waste is not garbage, it has value, but it has value when it is separated. So prevention, separation, collection, recovery, or maybe recycling. So we reached incineration, but before reaching to landfill, our main goal is to bring as small volume of waste as possible. So what will be motivation for that proper separation? When there is proper separation, then there is proper recycling. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Solomon. Your comment was very interesting. Circular economy, it is the most interesting field which could be discussed on this meeting. And of course, it will be interesting to see what are the role of technologies in this field. Yes. I have done presentation in this regard, and I know what should be done in this regard, and innovations should be used. So circular economy is the most important. The model is absolutely changed. So It's not anymore, I just used something, obtained something, used, and then threw away as a waste. No, I don't throw everything. I recover, I reuse. But if there is no separation, then you can do this because you cannot pick it from other wastes. So separation is absolutely essential, and only after that you can speak about something else. This is done in Europe. We all have seen how the separated bins are installed, and when we speak about waste, we should speak about separation in the first place and about recycling to ensure that very few waste goes to landfill. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Solomon. It will be very interesting to hear Vladimir about at what extent existing technologies will facilitate decrease of waste generation. Thank you very much.
First of all, today lignocellulosic biomass has received very intensive attention over the past decade, since it is a highly valuable raw material, which offers great potential to be used as a renewable feedstock for the production of fuels and different fine chemicals. I should inform you that in Europe, turnover of bio-based industry reached 700 billion euros. And biorefinery is already a commercial reality. Unfortunately, Georgia is not example like Bosnia Herzegovina of development of bio-based industry. At the same time, Georgia has all required materials and resources to create and develop own bio-based economy. Organic waste streams are available in very large amounts in Georgia today, and they are mainly composed by agricultural waste, food processing waste, and organic household waste, municipal waste. In particular, food industry, local wine, beer, juice, ethanol manufacturing enterprise generate huge amounts of co-products, byproducts, effluents. All are bio-waste, of course, but after processing, the remaining biomass, spent grains, residues, go only partly are distributed among small farmers, neighbor farmers, of course, householders, but majority of these byproducts are discarded in open areas, causing great environmental problems. At the same time, these materials can be are very cheap and abundant source of raw materials for production of food, feed, biofuel, enzymes, organic acid, pharmaceuticals, dietary supplements, and many other products of interest. Today, we have several challenges to create bio-based industry in Georgia. From one side, the above mentioned industries don't know what can propose what know-how have Georgian researchers, how they can solve the problems of industry, how they can help. And from another side, Georgian researchers don't know what issues have industries, wine industry, beer industry, and so on, feed industry, food industry, and so on. This is indeed very big problem up to date, in spite of my many times and many.
თუ ჩაგერთვებით ორი სიტყვით, რახან დრო ნაკლები გვაქვს კონკრეტულად თქვენ ლაბორატორიაში რაც გააკეთეთ და იმაზე რომ ვისაუბროთ, ის სამი პროდუქტი რაც თქვენ უკვე გაქვთ, პროტოტიპი რისიც გაკეთებული გაქვთ და რაც შეიძლება რომ გამოყენებულ პროტოტიპი. კი ბატონო, აი ამ კონკრეტულად თუ გნებავთ ქართულად და ჩვენ
არა, ინგლისურად მე შემნია.
კი ბატონო.
ესე იგი, ბოდიში. So in my institute, we have developed several technologies. They are at a very different level of maturity. The most well-developed are enzyme production technologies. In some enzymes, we are leaders of the world. We received the highest yields of 3 enzymes over the world with with the lowest price. So we are ready principally to industrial production, but we did not scaled up this enzyme production to prove feasibility of our technology. In the frame of JITA project with assistance of European Commission and World Bank, we were granted with 150,000 euro last year. And at the same time, we have received grant from Shota Rustaveli Foundation, 250,000 lari. Owing to this, we purchased fermenter, but only 12 liters fermenter with some downstream processing equipment. It is enough to produce and supply, for example, researchers. But I have a request from Austrian, for example, company. They needed 1 kilo of fermenter. For this reason, I need at least 2 cubic meter fermenter. This is problem.
How can local businesses benefit from the innovation that you are pursuing in your laboratory?
Today, the cost of this enzyme on the world market is at a minimum 5,000 euro per 1 million specific unit, international units. We can buy 5 times lower price, and in this case, we will have benefit 100%. So it is very promising approach. We have developed probiotic production technology.
Yes.
Probiotics are now very hot topic because they are alternative to antibiotic to use in feed for animal, poultry, and so on. We developed very high yield of this probiotic production. I think this is the highest yield. In last year my publication, I reviewed the various different technologies existing in publication, including patents, and this preparation was tested in broiler farm roaster with very good indications. So, for example, productivity increased by 8%. Mortality decreased as compared with antibiotic control. Food conversion, so it means that quantity of feed per 1 kilo of meat was decreased also. So economic efficiency was 81 lari per 1 ton of feed or of broiler. Very good result, and company was very satisfied.
Is there any other product that you can say now, and we have to move to the other speaker because mushrooms. Go ahead.
Mushrooms, but not. We have 2 mushrooms on our market, Georgian market, champignon and Hisoko. There is very good, the same Hisoko, but king's oyster mushroom, king soy why it is better? But no, ratom is soko ukatesia.
Why is this mushroom better? Because it could be chewed really well when its leg is also nice to chew as the cap, and it also has really good qualities. For example, anti-diabetic. Certain mushroom is a shiitake, technology of which is already developed. And today, for example, I went to Basaletti company, and basically we discussed to implement this technology there. Since we'll do something pilot here, but on it's absolutely necessary to have approval on industrial level. Thank you very much, and I do hope that after today's conversation, there will be a high interest from startups, and I want and since we are really short of time, I want to ask Nuța Obidze about the use of technologies.
I'm switching introduction, but I would like to give floor to Nuța Obidze, and I would like to ask her to say a couple of words about use of artificial intelligence in current practices at the retailers level related to packaging, which is helping to reduce the waste of food products. Over to you, Nuța.
Thank you for this possibility to share my expertise and also what PMAG is doing today in these terms. As we have short time, so I will start from this the technological innovation side that can be what can change our consumers' behavior in this smart packaging in this regard. So this is about IoT, Internet of Things, kind of virtual reality option of packaging to reduce this food waste. This is all about reduction of food waste, and it can be to tell you it's shortly that it works like with packaging labels. We can scan these labels and QR codes through our applications, and you can see the whole product life cycle. So this means that we have possibility to see the whole process, how it is produced, if the packaging is eco-friendly one. Also, we can keep record. For example, we maximize data collection through these applications and through this technology. And if we keep records of this packaging, it means that we can have a record of trash because it's the whole process from supply chain. the main problem for our Georgian reality also is food waste produced in processed in supply chain. And also we can practical advice can be through this about this IoT, for example, smart refrigerators. It's not yet introduced in Georgia, but I hope that our business and our companies will start to make some upgrades, also to share international expertise. And in our what I can say from PMAC side also, that our member companies also try to have some upgrades in technological processes. So they started to have alternative packaging such as flexible packaging. So our recommendation can be this at the first stage, digitalization. So we need to have improvements in that side, and so-called food rescue. So we should do it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Nuta. In the interest of time, I would like to go directly to Jumber Marwashvili of FAO. Considering the discussion that we've been going through, Juba, what do you think if we had to choose one step, a necessary step in Georgia towards the food waste management, what that would be? Where would you start from? Yeah.
Well, first of all, good evening, everyone. And today is the National Georgian Alphabet Day, and I would like to congratulate to all Georgian speakers, although I'm speaking in English now. I don't know, I could continue, of course, in Georgia, but let's continue in English. Anyways, the complexity of this issue is here. We all understand that not even policy changes, or not even changes on at the legislative level cannot kind of ensure the establishment of the food recovery and the redistribution systems, or even ensure the effective management of the food waste. And the complexity comes with the establishment of the systems step by step. And I would like to highlight the component of the food banks that Matthew has mentioned in his presentation, and the role of the food banks in the system is really huge, because as it was mentioned, the risk of taking the responsibility from the retailers about the safety of the food should be eliminated. And in this case, the responsible on this component should be the food banks. And this is how the systems work in Western or Eastern Europe. Of course, the policy decisions and of course the legislation is the whole umbrella of this process, and the support at the legislative level is crucially important, especially when it comes to the taxation issues, especially when it comes to the effective control of the food quality, and also the eliminating the risks that the products that are ready for redistribution returns back to the chain as already changed, I don't know, product with changed dates and etc. So these are also the empty open doors, let's say so, that needs to be well analyzed, and relevant policy decisions should be made according to this risk analysis. But also another very important component is the social, cultural, and the behavioral context, which is about raising awareness about the safety of this food that needs to be redistributed among the population, vulnerable people, that this food is firstly safe, and this no way means kind of considering them as secondary citizens, so that we are giving, especially when it comes to the first and second category of the food, well, what you had mentioned. This is like dry foods, packaged food, cereals or different categories, and also vegetables. So we must look at it. We must see the complexity of these issues. And since we've been working on this topic quite a while, we have already analyzed and discussed each level of this complex government with the parliament. We have ongoing discussions, and I believe those examples that we have from the European Union countries at the policy level or at the practical level will be successfully used here in Georgia as well.
Thank you so very much, Juba. I would like to, we do have time left for the audience to engage. I think the discussion really went from higher level policy agenda into the practical application of tools which are existing already in terms of technology, as well as the latest research in Georgia specifically. The discussion on circular economy would be probably a topic of another meeting, but I would like to ask non-governmental organizations, partner organizations which are present, if they would like to engage and say a couple of words. Yeah.
Could I?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the hosts, to the hosts of the event for organizing such an important and interesting event. Thank you also to FAO for all the work that they've done and the very comprehensive approach that they have conducted in this field. And the work we've done is largely based on the work that FAO has done, and I'm very glad to see this moving forward in Georgia. I represent environmental organization SEN. I'm sure most of you know a lot about us already. I personally have been a food campaigner and food advocate for some time, not just in Georgia, but also in other countries. And currently I'm leading a project on food waste. And I'd like to tell you a few details about the work that we're doing, as it fits very well with the work that everyone is doing here. But before, I'd like to just make a couple of points because the discussion was very interesting, and I'd also like to just contribute with a couple of points that I thought of during the discussion. First of all, I'd like to say that food waste has been shown to be a huge problem in Georgia, and we did a morphological study of landfills across Georgia in a few regions, which showed that over 40% of waste in Georgia is actually food waste. And this is one of the methodologies that has been used in the most recent food waste index produced by UNEP, which was released in March 2021. And this kind of methodology is actually one of the methodologies that has been used to produce this index. And to my surprise, actually, I came across Georgia in that index. Specifically, for some reason, on consumer level, they talk about kutaisi. I don't know how this was conducted, but it's very interesting. And this leads me to another point, that there's definitely a research gap in Georgia on consumer level food waste. And if we're going to do campaign and communication dissemination strategy, I think we first have to do research on consumer level to understand, for example, disparities between rural and urban areas of consumer level food waste. And I think we would find huge disparities because rural areas tend to have more tendencies to reuse the agricultural waste or any other waste. So this would be a very interesting information to generate for Georgia. Now I'd like to tell you quickly about our project. This is a new project that we started back in January with the support of the British Embassy. And the aim was to facilitate dialogue between the private sector, charitable organizations, and the government agencies to kind of think about policy approach based on evidence and practice. And because we are in a position that we work a lot with the private sector in circular economy approach and also with the government agencies, we took this role to facilitate dialogue. And we created a working group of private sector and charitable organizations representing retailers, restaurants, and hotels, and also charities like Caritas and so on. And they all identified tax regulations as the top priority barrier to be able to donate food. Therefore, they suggested, with our help, we helped with the legal expert, Ega is here, and she will tell us a couple of words about this policy, and also with tax experts to help them formulate what they were trying to achieve. And as a result, we drafted a variety of tax regulation changes, a letter of appeal to be handed over to the government, which suggests how things should be potentially formulated in the regulations to allow Georgia to be able to donate food without being taxed. However, I have to mention, as Matteo quite rightly mentioned, that this is just a fraction of the system, and in order to make it a comprehensive, safe, and in order to create an ecosystem that really works, there has to be other regulations, as Matteo mentioned in his presentation, and thank you for that. And Eka, if you would like to add a few words about the policies, please do. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Nana. This is super useful to know, the work that you have been conducting. There is Patano Alavert.
May I just 2 words, please? Maybe it could be 3, I don't know. I'd like to greet you. I am Alret Chankseliani, a representative of the Ministry of Environment and Agriculture. For me, it was really interesting to hear today's presentation. The topic was absolutely interesting, presentations and opinions expressed. And as a head of waste department, and since our ministry is policy maker in this field, I consider it necessary to express my opinions in this respect. Of course, I do not have a full knowledge of this project, but I think that it will be really nice if we have more communication for future cooperation. What do I mean? This just just for information. So for the project implementers and people who work in this field, so these good opinions could be really well implemented with waste management system. I would like to inform you, if you know, very good, but if not, I will inform you that the legislation of waste management is already developed in the country. There is a code, there are bylaws. We have almost 20 bylaws developed based on and under the code, waste management code. We have a law on transboundary transportation of waste, and also the country has national strategy for waste management, and in this strategy key approaches and visions are identified, and then first 5 years national action plan was provided. Strategy is for 15 years and plans are for 5 years. Action plans are for 5 years, and the first 5 years plan is finalized and the report is prepared for the government. Our respective analysis will be provided, and based on this analysis, decisions will be made. So at least we have already, at least the recommendations will be presented to the government. So we have, so whatever was presented is really good. Sorry, I lost the gentleman. I don't hear him anymore. Sorry. Sorry, Hatun also lost him, so it's not just me. No one hears him anymore. So he's disconnected. So we have so waste management hierarchy. Sorry, do you hear? Gentleman has a connection problem. Now we hear you. And now what is the situation? The strategy and plan cover all categories of waste, including, of course, there are some exceptions, but they cover, the strategy covers food waste, of course, organic waste, bio-based, and almost 45 to 50% of waste are of organic origin, green waste, kitchen waste, and the waste which is produced from agrarian production, agrarian processing, from storages, markets, and so on. In fact, of course, recycling is one of the key directions. After prevention, recycling is one of the key directions for waste management, and including organic waste. And in this case, composting is one of the key ones. And so in national action plan, some activities were already presented, and now active work is ongoing on the second action plan. This will be for 2021-2025. Where this part will be given great attention. So all these, all your proposals based on information are collected within the frameworks of this project, maybe could be reflected in national action plan, which is approved by the government, and this will provide political grounds to this. So our framework requirements cover all types of waste. But if we, together with you, consider that additional regulations are necessary regarding these issues, maybe this could be, it will not be difficult to somehow link this to this entire system. Taxes were also mentioned. This is an interesting topic. A committee, National Resources Committee, also highlighted this issue, and we are also working on possible tax benefits in terms of waste. I will not speak about reuse of food. In such a case, this food might not be viewed as waste, but as a product which could be still used for its direct designation. In this experience of EU and the countries from which our respected experts are, will be really important, and transposition of this practice to Georgia will be interesting, and its reflection in legislation. And so it's very important to think how we can use execution tools. I know that you did not envisage this my speech, and that's why I will somehow limit myself. I just want to say that I propose cooperation. Thank you very much, Mr. Alavert, for your cooperation. This space is dedicated namely for such conversation. This is not official meeting. This is a free space where stakeholders can know about recent researches. We are trying to bring together researchers and practitioners. Yes, of course, and this is extremely important. That's why I propose cooperation, and this should be a requirement and order of the state to be closer with researchers, because we need to know what is our scientists should know about our key visions and strategies. They need to know our needs. Yes, absolutely. We are trying to fill the gap which exists between these two sectors, public sector and academy. We are out of time. I don't want to keep you longer. I want to extend my deep, deep gratitude to all of you. This was the most interesting meeting for me, which we conducted from the last year. It was first time when we discussed so many aspects. Thank you, Solomon, for dedicating your time for your engagement in this process. I am sure that this small forum will support us to connect academic and other sectors. That's our main goal, and I believe that this will be continued. I mean, cooperation between different parties will be continued, and if we made at least slight contribution to that with this event, I will be really happy. If you want to say something, Solomon or others, so the floor is yours. If not, no, thank you. Just goodbye. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks a lot to all of you. You know our contact details, and if you need additional information, please contact us or email us. We'll by all means answer.
Enabled this forum to take place today, and all the participants who stayed this late. Thank you very much.
If I may say sentence,
Madlova.
There is one gentleman who wants to ask question. Patono Chaba, if I'm right.
Mr. Jaba, could you write us your question, because we are really short of time. Yes, of course, I also have many questions, but I'll by all means write you. Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to listen to you. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all of you. Thank you.